CBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
Welcome to Basically a Football Show.
Basically a Football Show. Week 7 in college football. Week 6 in the National Football League. Probably the biggest weekend of the college football season so far. 5 or 6 ranked matchups and big playoff implications already?
All sorts of big stuff happened over the weekend in college football. I think it lived up to the billing. What do you think?
I think so, too. Halfway through the college football season, now that we finally kind of figured out who's good, who's bad, you see the path for some of these teams. You see the playoff path. You see how things are shaping up, and you can kind of gauge what the playoff field could potentially be come January.
Yeah, it's starting to shake itself out a little bit.
But let's start with your #1 team in the land, the Ohio State Buckeyes. 38-10 win over Penn State. Pull away late, especially in the second half when they decide to finally put in JT Barrett, who will be your starter this weekend at Rutgers as Ohio State wins 38-10 and stays on top of the poll, 28 first-place votes.
Thank God for JT Barrett, first off. It's about time. I don't know why Urban Meyer didn't make this move 3 weeks ago. It's been clear to me from the start of the season that Barrett is maybe not tool-wise and physically and athletically and all that the better of the two quarterbacks, but it is pretty obvious to me who runs their offense better, and it's JT Barrett. I think finally a game where they kind of established that they are who they are. Still not quite hitting on all cylinders, but I'm feeling a lot better about him after this one over Penn State.
Another big day for Ezekiel Elliott as well. He's finally kind of worked his way into the offense and been a consistent figure in that Buckeyes offense, which is good. This was also the all-black uniforms, Greg. What'd you think of your black eyes?
I think it was pointless, but I didn't think the jersey was all that bad. I didn't think the helmet was all that bad. The pants were terrible, and all three of them together just doesn't work. So not a good look for the Bucs. They need to stick to what works and not mess around with tradition.
So Ohio State stays at #1. #2 in the land was and is the Baylor Bears. They just continue to do what they do. 62 points in a win over Virginia Tech, 62-38. 38 points against anybody should be a good day. Ohio State scored 38 points and won by 20.
And won by 28 points.
Yeah, so Baylor's just ridiculous.
West Virginia puts up 38 and loses by 24.
Yeah. So. Baylor's wide receiver, Corey Coleman, 3 touchdowns, 199 yards. He has 16 touchdowns on the season already.
Wow.
The Biletnikoff winner last year, Amari Cooper, had 16 touchdowns for the season.
Do we know offhand what the record for a season is?
Not offhand, no.
I got to think, though, he's got to definitely be on pace for it, right?
Oh, he's up there.
For touchdown passes, for touchdown catches in a season, because let's face it, college, up until the last, I don't know, maybe 15 years or so, you weren't known for scoring a lot of touchdowns through the air like this. So he's got to be, 16 through 6 games?
The quarterback for Baylor, Seth Russell, 380 throwing, 160 running. I think Baylor's offense is better than it ever has been. Yeah,
but again, you've got a 3-3. Well, they were 3-2 coming into the game. West Virginia team that had no trouble at all putting up 38 points on their defense.
But when you're scoring 62 points, the other team's getting the ball 9 times more than they would against anybody else.
But here's my question: do you think that Baylor could do this against, say, an Alabama defense or an LSU defense, even Ohio State defense, which I think has got issues? But I mean, they don't play a lot of really strong defenses. I still think they would score. I don't know that they could do it at this clip.
Well, I don't think they're scoring 60 on Ohio State or Alabama. But even if they score 35, 40, can Ohio State or Alabama score 45 and 50 against Baylor?
Against their defense, I think they could, yeah. And I think that might be Baylor's problem as we move along here. We'll worry about that when we get there. I just think that that's something they need to look at.
They're not going to have to worry about that until a potential playoff game. Then is when you find out whether they're real or not. The same thing that we always said about Oregon. Oh, that gimmick offense is great, but can it go against the big boys? And, they beat Florida State, but then they met Ohio State and got dump trucked. And then when they played Auburn, it was the same thing. So you don't know. It's hard to imagine somebody stopping the Baylor team as many points as they do put up and as easy as they make it look from week to week.
They do make it look very easy. I mean, I still think if they really wanted to, they could score 100. on the right team. I just think, it's good for them that they take their feet off the brakes like that, but they certainly could put 100 on the board if they really wanted to.
Well, let's go down to the next team, to TCU, who was the third team in the country, 7-0 after a 45-20 win over Iowa State. Tight in the first quarter, and then they pull away late because TCU can score a ton of points too. What's the over/under on the Baylor-TCU game?
Oh my God, it's got to be 100.
It's got to be 100, right?
I would think so. It almost has to be.
You think it could be like 120?
I don't think Vegas would go quite that high, but I think that you could easily see 3 digits.
Yeah, if they put the over/under at 100, I would bet the over.
I think I would too. And I think a lot of people, if when these two play each other, it's going to be 70-63. They're going to go, it's one of the greatest games ever. And I'm not going to agree with that. It's a lot of offense, and that's cool. But sometimes it just gets a little old where you just know that whoever has the ball last in a game like that's going to win, probably.
Yeah, that's what happened last year when they got the field goal, or Baylor got the field goal late to beat TCU.
It's cool to watch for a while, but at some point you go, there's more to football than just chucking the ball down the field and scoring touchdowns like you're playing Madden on the rookie level all day.
Those two are big. Baylor and TCU were video game teams.
Do you remember when TCU used to be known for their defense? Do you even remember that? It wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, when Andy Dalton was there, it was the big bad TCU defense.
Exactly. Yeah. And all of a sudden now here they are just lighting it up like crazy.
Well, that was when they weren't in the Big 12 yet. So it's almost as if as soon as they get to the Big 12, well, nobody else plays defense. Why should we care?
Right, exactly.
So Trayvon Boykin, 436 yards passing for TCU. Just looking at their box scores every week is a joke. But because the win was a little tight and Utah had a pretty impressive win, TCU moves down to number 4 in the polls this week. So that means, as I said, Utah, they had a good win. They move up to number 3 after a win over my Arizona State Sun Devils. It was tight. ASU was up 18-14 going into the fourth quarter. I was feeling pretty good. I thought Arizona State was playing well, but 20 points in the fourth quarter by Utah. Travis Wilson looked really good. Devontae Booker, the running back for Utah, looked great. And Utah pulls away late for a 34-18 win. And Utah still has some tough tests. They play USC this weekend, but Utah very deserving of being the number 3 team in the country. 16 first-place votes for the Utes this week.
Yeah, they're looking real good. I think Arizona State is better than their record. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good win for the Utes, and I just don't know that, Utah, they worry me a little bit because it's like they're really, really good. But I feel like they're missing like that one little ingredient. I can't even put my finger on it that would put them at the absolute elite level. Does that make any sense? You know what I'm saying? Like they're not quite. I don't know if I trust their offense enough to be able to get into a game with like an Ohio State or an Alabama or someone like that and do what they need to do. Now again, that's pure speculation on my part. I have nothing to base that on other than just like it just feels like maybe it's just because it's Utah and they're ranked this highly that I go, there's got to be something wrong. Maybe there's not a thing wrong with this team. And I hope there's not, because I love the fact that they're up this high.
Yeah, I think Travis Wilson, the quarterback, the pride of San Clemente High School, he's been kind of up and down inconsistent this year in his college career. He's been injured and redshirted there a couple times too. So I think if there's a hole in Utah, that's it. But I still think the defense is very solid.
Right.
And Devontae Booker is a stud running back. So I think if they go up against those teams, throwing the ball may not be the way for them to win it, but if they can control the game with the defense and the run game, they can play with anybody.
Well,
they
have beaten the teams that you've put in front of them every single time so far.
Yep.
So again, I'm not knocking them. I love the fact that they're doing this well. I think it's just a thing because they came from the old Mountain West. Right. Yeah. And they've only been in the Big 12 for a few years, and you go, they can't really be this good, but maybe they really are this good, and I hope they are.
But you remember them when they were in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
All the games they did win, those Sugar Bowl victories.
Right.
Hell, they beat Alabama. They beat them like a rented mule.
That was Urban Meyer when he was still there, right? Or was it?
No, Urban Meyer beat Pitt in the Sugar Bowl.
Okay.
The current coach Kyle Whittingham beat Nick Saban's Alabama team that year.
But yeah, like I said, I love this team. I do. I think they're great. I love watching them. I think I've just got this stigma attached to them that I've got to get rid of. It's on me. I hope they're this good, and maybe they are.
Mm-hmm. So a tough test for the Utes, but they pass it. And actually, that's the first time they've beaten Arizona State in Pac-12 play. So,
all right,
Utah.
Like I said, they're beating who you put in front of them, and that's all you can ask out of a team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's move down to number 5 was the Clemson Tigers. We thought it might be tough with the Boston College defense, but 34 points for the Tigers and a 34-17 win over the BC Eagles. Clemson actually drops a spot from 5 to 6. Still getting one first-place vote from somebody somewhere.
I think it's the writer for the Clemson, South Carolina Journal or whatever their newspaper's called.
Right. The new number 5 team in the country was the number 6 team in the country. They are the LSU Tigers. 35-28 over number 8 Florida. Big matchup there in the SEC. Florida, they held tough, but LSU 28 points in the second quarter. Leonard Fournette 180 yards, 2 more touchdowns, and a game. The play that ends up being the winning touchdown, a fake field goal in the fourth quarter,
right? For
a touchdown by LSU. What a call there by Les.
Yeah, Les Miles, the Mad Hatter, does it again. But I think that this game does 2 things. Mostly, it legitimizes Florida, I think. I think that they really are as good as they look. And with LSU, I will say this. I watched a little bit of this game, and I did see them complete a pass. So that's a good sign for the Tigers. They got a first down throwing the ball, so that's a step in the right direction.
I mean, the little things.
The little things, right?
Yeah. But, again, LSU plays great with the run game, and their defense is okay. What happens? What happens when they have to actually go up and play Alabama?
Right. You got to think that Alabama, especially knowing that LSU can't pass, and Nick Saban's smart enough to go, just stop Fournette and we're going to be fine. And that's going to be when things get interesting.
Alabama defense can be up to the task.
Exactly. And we've talked about it a couple times now, but you want to write off Alabama as soon as they lose. Here they are, right back at 8 again, and they'll just keep working their way right back into the conversation. Yeah. But it will be a very cool game when they do face each other. That's going to be just a matchup of a really good one that you're going to want to watch.
LSU's got plenty of time to prepare for it. They play Western Kentucky next week. Then they have the following week off, and then they go to Tuscaloosa to play the Tide on November 7th.
So basically doing the old SEC thing, we'll take a scrimmage game, have a bye, and then go play our big game. Just like they always do. Good. Yeah, that's going to be a matchup.
It always seems that it works out that way for Alabama, too, where they get the teams that are always coming off the big buys, ready to play them. But anyway, so LSU moves up to number 5 after the win over number 8 Florida. Florida drops to number 13, a 5-spot drop, but they got their first loss. There's a couple undefeated teams that we need to talk about, but we'll get to them in a second. One of them is this was the game of the weekend, I think, in the state of Michigan.
Oh boy, Michigan
State, Michigan. Michigan was the better team in this game,
no question.
Michigan's defense was, they finally lit up some points in the second quarter, so they got through another quarter without allowing any points. The offense was efficient; they ran the ball well, but I feel so hard for Michigan. So Michigan's up 23-21, 10 seconds left. They stopped Michigan State on a 4th down. They get the ball back. They're just trying to run down time. Can't get the first down, but they run the clock down to 10 seconds. So all I got to do is punt the ball away, get them deep, and then maybe Michigan State has time for a Hail Mary. But that's all a whole lot of luck. You can execute a punt until you can't. The Michigan punter, poor kid, takes the snap, goes right off his hands, tries to pick it up, and tries to kick it as guys are bearing down on him. Kind of kicks it, but kicks it straight to the side, right into the hands of a Michigan State, defender, who then takes it the easy 40 yards in for the score. And Michigan State improbably pulls one out of the fire at Michigan. Just
one of the most
craziest endings I've seen to a game. Because I saw this live, and you had changed off the game. I saw it live, and I was like, I want to see this out. I want to see Michigan do, hail to the victors valiant, and do all that shit, and then, you gotta finish every play.
I get a text, holy hell, Michigan. I'm like, huh? And I went and looked on ESPN, and I couldn't believe it because when Michigan State didn't make the 4th and 19, I thought that's it, game's over. I moved on, and I missed the end of it. But
because it's one thing if Michigan got the punt away and Michigan State returned the punt.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
You can live with that.
If Michigan State got a Hail Mary pass on the next play, that's another thing. But for the punter to just, this is routine. You catch the punt, you kick it. All you got to do is kick a punt and you win the game. And he can't do it. And it's just, you got to feel for that guy.
Oh, I do, definitely.
I'm sure he's already looking into what other schools offer his degree. And the AD had to put up a thing like, hey, don't, antagonize this kid. It was a mistake. It happened.
Well, yeah, and to his defense, too, the snap wasn't perfect. Now, it wasn't so bad.
It still hit him in the hands.
It was a little bit low, but yeah, he should have caught it. I will say that. But the thing that kills me about this, that just makes this play even more tragic for him, he couldn't have put that ball in a better position for Michigan State if he'd walked over and handed it to the guy.
I know. It's just the angle of which he kind of muffed the kick.
I mean,
right into the guy's hands.
He could have walked over and handed it to him. It wouldn't have been any more accurate than it was the way it just bounced to him like that.
When the ball gets to him, though, I was thinking about it. It's like, well, maybe he should have just fell down, and you got to hope that Michigan State misses the field goal because they still could have won the game on a field goal. They were on the 40, I think. And so that's what, a 53-yarder.
But still, they had kicking trouble all year.
Yeah,
they talked about it throughout the game that their kicker wasn't the greatest. So it's just one of the craziest innings I've seen. Definitely the craziest one since Auburn, Alabama a few years ago.
Yeah,
nutty.
Well, yeah, it's insane. And somebody pointed out the kicker's background too. He's from Australia. He's working on his second master's degree,
right?
To get some eligibility to play at Michigan. It's he's a great story, and I'm sure he'll be fine and he'll get over it. But man, what a way to lose a football game, and a big one for Michigan. Like I said, they were the better team in this football game.
I thought so too. They
simply were just the better team. Jim Harbaugh had a perfect game plan to beat Michigan State, and it worked. Until a fluke at the end.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can say about it really. You can't really blame anyone. I mean, you can blame the punter if you want to, I suppose, and but honestly, it was just one of those things that if they run that play 99 times or 100 times, they're going to get it right 99. It's just that one time where things go wrong, and he, the guy, the return guy, got it all the way into the end zone. It's just one of those flukes that you just go, oh well. I mean, I don't know. If you're a Michigan player, how you walk away from that game, how you feel. I can't imagine because I've never been involved in a sporting event that we lost like that. Because
you won the game. You had won the game.
Right, exactly.
There wasn't anything else to do. You had won the game.
Yep.
They just had to let the final 10 seconds go off the clock.
I just understand. I guess, to me, if I'm a voter, I'm dropping Michigan State down below a couple of these teams solely on the fact that yes, the scoreboard indicated they had more points at the end of the game, but I don't think they won this game.
No, they got to hand it to them.
Right.
As I listened to another podcast, they described it as the game fell off the back of a pickup truck, and Michigan State just picked it up.
Exactly.
It was like, hey, that looks pretty neat, and you just take it and go home.
I mean, you always hear the cliche that so-and-so lost the game more than the other team won it. This is a perfect example of that. Michigan lost this game way more than Michigan State won it. It's as simple as that. And it's a shame for Michigan, but wow, what a finish. That's what's great about sports, really. It's crazy stuff happens.
But going forward in the Big Ten East, so Ohio State's undefeated in conference play. Michigan State's undefeated in conference play. Now, Michigan has the one loss. I very easily see a scenario where Ohio State still beats Michigan State, and then Michigan beats Ohio State, and then you have a three-way tie at the end of the year for the Big Ten.
I don't know how they figured that.
I think what I've seen done in the past, I think it's whoever's the highest ranked of the three teams.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure that's a tiebreaker in the Pac-12 and the SEC, so I don't see why it would be different.
Well, I'll tell you this. You look at Ohio State's floundering support at number one. It's starting to crumble a little bit. If they lose, they're going to drop a ways, I think. I don't think you're going to see them do an Alabama or when they drop to 4 or 5. If they lose a game along the way here, they're going to drop 5, 6, 7, 8 spots. So that's something else that, if it does play out like that, I think Michigan will probably be the higher-ranked team at the end of it all.
Maybe it depends on how far Michigan State drops, or if Michigan State beats Ohio State, then you have a real issue.
Right. I will say this, and this isn't just Homer talking. The two teams that I saw yesterday or Saturday at Michigan State, I think Ohio State is still better than both of those teams.
I don't. You were afraid of Michigan before.
I was because the way they were shutting people out, and then I thought the Michigan State game is going to tell the tale. I haven't been really that sold on Michigan State all year. I think they're good, but they're not elite yet. And looking at that, I thought, I don't think that either one of them are as good. It's not to say that either one of them could beat Ohio State. They certainly can. But I'm not afraid anymore. I'll put it like that. I just saw two teams that Ohio State, if they're playing well, should be able to beat without much trouble. But that's a big if these days with the Buckeyes.
Yeah. So things shaking out there in the Big Ten West. Interesting. Just feel for Michigan, but things march on, and we'll see how that plays out down the road. Right below Michigan State stays at 7, by the way. No gain, no drop. I think mostly just because they're 7-0, but they're not better than the team that's directly behind them.
Nope.
Continues to look impressive after everyone decided to leave them for dead again. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they were number 10, playing number 9, Texas A&M. And again, Alabama, their passing game wasn't really there. But they can run the hell out of the ball, and that defense is as strong as it's ever been. 3 pick sixes by the defense, 236 yards on the ground for Derrick Henry and 2 touchdowns. In Alabama, it looked kind of the score is closer than the game actually was.
Right.
Alabama dominated Texas A&M in a 41-23 win in College Station. Alabama moves up to number 8 in the poll. A&M down to they're actually in a tie for 15th with Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the standings right now, or the rankings right now. Alabama's better than Michigan State. They're better than Clemson. And then you can argue from that point forward if you want to.
Yeah, Alabama's a borderline top 5 team still.
I think so, yeah. And we'll get to them here in a minute. There's another team down here that I think, because of the one loss, is ranked way lower than they should be.
Yep, better than at least 3 of the teams in front of them.
Absolutely. I agree.
So Alabama, they just keep doing what they're doing. Good job.
You called it a couple weeks ago. You said they're going to write them off, but at the end of the season, they're going to be right there. And I agree. That's exactly what's going to happen.
The same thing happened last year.
Yep.
The same thing happens, every other year with Alabama. In the years when they're not undefeated and they lose a game, everybody's, here's the end of Alabama. Nick Saban, as he lost his touch. No. Alabama's defense is still as good as it's ever been. Like I said, 3 pick sixes of Texas A&M offense that had been electric in the first half of the season.
Right. For Alabama to be completely knocked out of it, they're going to need to lose another game between now and the Iron Bowl. It's as simple as that. Anything short of that, and if you think,
really, I think the only shot is the LSU game.
Yeah,
in 3 weeks.
If you really think that you're going to get a national championship picture without Alabama being a part of it, you're being a little overly optimistic, I think.
Because here's Alabama the rest of the way. Okay, Tennessee, and then they host LSU. The LSU and Alabama both get a week off before that game. Then they're at Mississippi State, Charleston Southern, and Auburn to finish off the year. Now, obviously, usually the Iron Bowl's a toss-up, but I think Auburn's been a huge disappointment.
Yeah, I don't think that the preseason rankings have missed so badly on a team in a long time as everybody missed with Auburn. I liked Auburn going into it, too. Man, they're just not very good.
Right, but things are pretty straightforward, I think, for Alabama the rest of the way. It's just that LSU game. And really the thing I think that's interesting, Alabama's passing game isn't great either. Coker, I think, is the quarterback. He's okay, and he was fine as a game manager. I think he threw the ball like 12 times. But that game's going to be all about hard-nosed defense and Derrick Henry versus Leonard Fournette.
Right, exactly. It's going to be old school. It's going to be like going back to 1968 to watch college football.
Remember that 7-6 Alabama LSU game?
Oh, God.
Could we be on track for one of those?
I hope not. I hope not.
I think the running backs are dynamic enough that we can just get 2 touchdowns out of each team.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's more like a 24-21 type deal, or it's just going to be a classic game. But yeah, if you want to know what football was like in, say, like 1968, watch this game. You're going to see exactly what it was like back then.
Yep. So Alabama moves up to 8. Right behind them now, Florida State was number 11. They get a 41-21 win over Louisville. Florida State sneaks its way back into the top 10 at number 9.
Okay, yeah, I'm not buying that.
They're 6-0. I mean, I guess they deserve to be there just as much as anybody else right now. But, oh, God. I'm pulling up Florida State's schedule. Oh, they haven't played a ranked team yet this year. And the only ranked teams left on their schedule are at Clemson and at Florida.
They won't get past Florida this year. I just don't see it.
I think Florida beats them. And that game's in Gainesville, so I'd give the edge to the Gators in their season ender. And
they've got Clemson on the road, too, so they could be out of this pretty quick.
Yeah. But, the road's not that hard for Clemson either. But I think I think one way or the other, we're going to get the ACC champion in the playoff just based on process of elimination.
Yeah.
Or the ACC champ will be the Big 12 of this year, where we're the team that's right out there that says, why not us? But
I can tell you, why not you? You don't play anybody.
If they end up undefeated, you never know. Move down from Florida State. We'll get to the number 10 and 11 this week soon. Number 13. Number 13 was the – where did I go?
I don't know. You've lost me.
Number 13 was the Ole Miss Rebels. And how about that SEC? To an American Conference team, Memphis, who's actually Memphis 6-0, scores 37 points on a supposedly SEC high-quality defense. And Ole Miss's defense was part of their strength over the last couple of years. They put up 37 points on Ole Miss and beat the Rebels 37-24 in Memphis. That's just a great win by the Tigers.
Well, we talked about this before we started tonight, too. I think that Ole Miss takes the I don't know what you'd even call it, the capital they get from beating Alabama, and they get more out of it than any other team would because they're an SEC team and they've beaten Alabama. And all of a sudden you're like, well, they must be really, really, really good. Except that they're not. They're pretty good, but I just think that they get a lot of benefit from winning a game against Alabama. We saw it happen last year, and by the end of the year, they weren't there. But nice job by the Memphis Tigers, who I guess moved into the rankings this week, right?
They move into the rankings at number 18.
Wow.
Big jump into the rankings for Memphis. I mean, they're 6-0. They just beat an SEC team, and that's pretty big when you're the remnants of the former Big East. And actually, this is they put this on the little press release, and we'll get to the teams that are in the rankings now. But the American Conference has 3 ranked teams for the first time since its creation.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that it's the first time.
Well, yeah, I mean, the conference was only quote-unquote created 3 years ago.
Either way. What do they have? They have
They've
Memphis,
got
Houston.
At number 18, Houston at 21, and for the first time since 1969, the Temple Owls.
Look at the Owls go. Wow.
6-0. Yeah. How about them?
That's probably the first time since Bill Cosby played for them that they've been ranked.
I'm pretty sure it was the first time since 1969. Let me double check that.
That's probably right.
1979.
Oh, 79. Okay.
1979.
All right.
But hey, 6-0. Good for the Owls.
Go Owls, yeah.
Number 14 didn't play. Yeah, number 4. No, what the hell? I don't know who's 14. Anyway, we'll just go down what I have. Oh, number 14 was Notre Dame. Number 14, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They're still undefeated at home, only 1 loss in the season, and a pretty decent win over USC, 41-31. Obviously, USC going through some turmoil, but I thought with their new interim head coach, USC played pretty well, 31 points on the road in a night game in Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, despite the very, very close loss to Clemson, still chugging along. Notre Dame up to number 11 in the country with the win.
They're hanging in there. I still don't think they're as good as people think they are. I know that the rumor mill has started with USC already. We've had John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and
John Harbaugh. John, the Ravens coach?
Yes.
Huh.
Now, this is, again, I heard this on the Dan Patrick Show, and it's basically just the coaches that USC has said are on their short list. And of those names, John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and I forget the other one. There was another big name from college football, or maybe the NFL. But, yeah, so we're already starting with what was it, a couple years ago? I think the first year we did this show where USC had an interim coach, did really well. We thought he deserved a shot. He didn't get it. They brought in, was it Kiffin?
They brought in Sarkisian.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because Kiffin, that was after, he was the guy that took over after Kiffin got left at the bus stop.
Kiffin, yeah, he got kicked off the plane.
Right.
Left at the curb at LAX.
But yeah, so USC, here we go again. And I just wanted to ask you really quick, what do you think the odds are of Pete Carroll going back to USC?
With the way things are going in Seattle, and
right.
I can see the end of the tunnel when it comes to Seattle being competitive, yeah, I think I don't know if Pete could go back to SC. I can see him going back to college, and SC would obviously lobby for him hard. But when he left, he was the coach that left, and then they went into sanction, right?
Right, exactly.
So I don't know if they want to play with that fire again.
But he was also the guy that when they
got them 2 consecutive national championships, 3 consecutive national title games.
Right.
I know.
I think, though, that I think John Harbaugh is a very interesting choice, and they even said this in the piece I listened to on the Dan Patrick Show. The idea is for a Harbaugh versus Harbaugh Rose Bowl, which is great. You know, it's 30 years ago when that's how it worked out.
Right.
But are you guys are going to throw the national championship play to the side so you can play in the Rose Bowl? Come on.
Has John actually coached in college before?
I don't know.
I think he's worked his way up through the NFL ranks. I don't know if he I'm looking him up right now.
But if you think about it, with Harbaugh, I mean, he's already got a Super Bowl. So I guess I was just thinking with an NFL coach, I mean, after you've won that Super Bowl, what do you really have left to prove? And I don't know if college is necessarily easier because you've got all the recruiting and stuff, but I got to think it's a little less stressful than the NFL.
Well, this is his coaching experience. He's only been with 2 NFL teams. He actually coached with 5 college teams. Western Michigan as a running backs outside linebacker coach, Pitt as a tight end coach for a year, Morehead State University for a year, special teams and secondary, University of Cincinnati for 7 years, special teams, Indiana for a year, special teams, defensive backs, and then he moved on to the Eagles where he was special teams and D-backs, and then he went from a defensive backs coach to the head coach of the Ravens in 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought he was a coordinator or something.
Yeah, I thought that's an interesting trajectory because he never really had – I don't want to say that there's any unimportant coaching jobs, but he didn't have like a coordinator job at any of those places.
Yeah, they were all – the only title that was a coordinator was special teams.
Right.
And that's an important part of the game, of course, but
yeah, but it's usually like the defensive, offensive coordinators that move – that's how you move up. Mm-hmm. But I think he's an interesting choice for USC. I wish I could remember the third guy. There was actually like 5 names.
Was it Chip Kelly?
Chip Kelly was tossed around, but no one seems to think he'll go there because something to do with he's just not the right personality fit for USC, and I can completely see that.
Yeah,
USC. Oregon. Okay, yeah, it's a big program. It's this, that, all the stuff that goes with it. USC is you've got to be a bit of a personality to coach there, I think, and I don't think Chip Kelly's the right kind of personality to coach at USC.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's just going to be interesting, though. It's going to be a very interesting offseason once all this stuff plays out.
Going back to Notre Dame for a second, though. So they're sitting currently the number 11 in the country.
Right.
Next week, they're at number 22 Temple. At number 25 Pitt. Wake Forest, BC. And then they finish the year at Stanford. And I don't think they will because I think Stanford's pretty damn good, as we'll talk about just right next. If Notre Dame were to able to go into Stanford to beat them, with the other ranked wins they would then have on their schedule, is Notre Dame a playoff team?
I think at that point you got to take a real serious look at them because they don't have the resume that they used to have when they would put Michigan, but they've got some.
At this point, their only loss is at Clemson, a 2-point loss when they couldn't get the 2-point conversion to tie.
Right.
That's not a bad loss.
No, not really. I think that if they run the table the rest of the way out, you've got to put them into the picture.
And none of the wins are like, oh, they were close, they could have lost that one. Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia Tech came back late, but they were up like 30 points in that game.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, sometimes you can't let the score fool you, and a lot of times I think with the voters, especially it's more so in the coaches poll probably than the AP poll, but in both polls. You can't watch every game, so you look at the score and go, "Oh, well." I sometimes the game's not as close. Like A&M Alabama, it looked a lot closer than it actually was. But yeah, I think if they run the table, you got to put them in the picture. Absolutely, especially depending on what happens in front of them at this point.
And Notre Dame is one of those teams where you look at their record and how their games have gone. They're number 11 in the AP poll. I'm very curious to see where the committee, when the committee polls finally come out,
right, where
they slide them. Because I think they could look at Notre Dame's wins and say, well, they just had the one really close loss, and they've beaten everybody else that's on their schedule, so they're a top 10, top 6 team or something like that.
Yeah, because, you look at like a team like Michigan State. Enjoy your time at number 7 because when the playoff rankings come out, I don't think you're going to be there anymore.
And I would almost say the same for Ohio State. I don't know if when those playoff rankings come out, if Ohio State's going to be number 1 in them.
Well,
they might be just because they're reigning champ.
Right. We thought that with Florida State last year. Florida State hung on for a long time with that number 1 ranking. And I think Ohio State, while not nearly as impressive as they were in that stretched in the season last year, they haven't been quite as much the tight wire act as Florida State was. Now, that's not to say that they haven't been, but they've been a little more impressive than Florida State was in the same position last year, I think.
Hold on, I'm trying to find. Okay. So the first rankings for the playoff come out in 2 weeks, November 3rd. So these teams have 2 more weeks to really kind of make their first impressions on the team to see when they can come out. So that'll be what? We're in week 6 right now, or week 7, so week 9.
Right.
After week 9. So we'll see where teams are then. After Notre Dame, it was the number 15 was the Stanford Cardinal. And, man, that was so nice. Thursday night, they played, at the time, number 18 UCLA, and they just beat the hell out of them. UCLA made it closer with 15 points in the third quarter, but Stanford beat the hell out of that team. Christian McCaffrey, 243 yards, 4 touchdowns. One of the most amazing catches you'll see all year with that touchdown. One of those where the receiver reaches around both arms around the DB that's covering him, catches the ball on his back into the end zone. And finally, after weeks of languishing in the teens and the high teens and the rankings, Stanford gets back into the top 10 after the big win with UCLA. They're at number 10, and it's good to see because I think Stanford is better than Florida State. They're better than Michigan State.
Better than Clemson.
Yep. They're right there with Alabama in the 5, 6, 7 range.
I agree.
And if things stay on the course they are, I cannot wait for a Stanford-Utah Pac-12 championship game. That would be a real slobber knocker of a game. That'd be fun.
It would be fun, yeah.
So your thoughts on the Stanford Cardinal?
I think they're they're a really, really good team, and I think one of these years, everyone's going to listen to us when it comes to UCLA. And because 2 years in a row now, everybody else loved them. We're like, they're not this good. And here they are. Are they even still ranked? No.
No, USC wasn't even ranked last week.
Or UCLA, I meant.
Or UCLA. Yeah, they're not ranked anymore.
Yeah. So sooner or later, somebody's going to go, hey, you know what? These guys know what they're talking about when it comes to the Bruins. But, yeah, this Stanford team is tough, man. And I'm with you. I'm looking for the big showdown between them and Utah. That's going to be a hell of a game. But they are better than Florida State. They're better than Michigan State. They're better than Clemson. And when the playoff rankings come out, you're going to see a bit of a jumble here. And I think because right now having Stanford 10 behind Florida State and Clemson and Michigan State's ridiculous.
Yeah. And, I mean, even Stanford's one loss. It was to Northwestern, and, yes, they're out of the rankings now. But through the first half of the season, Northwestern looked like a pretty damn good football team.
Right.
And their defense was playing well, and that's what shut down Stanford in that first game. Took them a while to get going, but now they're the Stanford team that we're used to seeing. Big, strong, physical, run the ball, play defense, and they're even getting some plays in the passing game. So Stanford is who we always want them to be and what they are. They're a power football team, and they're playing up to their potential right now.
Well, they did the right thing. If you're going to lose a game, lose it way early in the season, and they did, and it wasn't a terrible loss, so they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
because these teams in front of them, I mean, they all can't remain undefeated. It's impossible. Some of them are going to lose. So they just got to keep going, and they're going to be in the picture too.
The last ranked matchup of the week was number 17 Iowa taking on that number 20 Northwestern team. And Greg, we live in a world where the Iowa Hawkeyes just put up 40 points and are 7-0.
I know.
Iowa beats Northwestern 40-10, moves up to number 12 in the rankings. Iowa.
I know. Well, you know what? They owe us this because we were all over them. We weren't all over. We like this Iowa team to kind of be a surprise this year. Well, we were a year late on them, but yeah, they're playing good football, and it's good to see. I like it when Iowa is good. I don't know why, but I think football's better when Iowa's involved in it. Yeah.
Yeah, Iowa, they ran the ball well, played good defense. And as we talked about last week, Iowa has a pretty straight shot to, now that they beat Northwestern, Maryland, Indiana, Minnesota, Purdue, Nebraska.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing to what would probably be the Big Ten title game. I mean, you look at the teams that are behind them, only Wisconsin and Illinois both have one loss, but Wisconsin's not the Wisconsin of old, and Illinois is Illinois.
Right. Yeah.
You looking forward to playing the Hawkeyes in Indianapolis?
Sure, why not? I'll take anybody that shows up. As long as my team's there, I don't care who we play.
All right, so as I said, Iowa wins. Number 19, Oklahoma, with a shutout win over Kansas State, 55-0. Big 12's weird, man. Kansas State hangs with teams, and then they don't score any points against Oklahoma. Like,
right.
The hell? And Oklahoma loses, and then they win. And
I think that Kansas State's the San Diego Chargers of college football. You just don't know what you're going to get every week.
Yeah. And then rounding out the ranked teams that played last week, your Toledo Rockets, Greg.
Oh, no trouble at all with the Eastern Michigan Eagles. No trouble at all.
63-20 over a hapless Eastern Michigan team. 6-0 are your Rockets. 3-0 in the MAC.
Better believe it.
So,
I forget what the slogan is right now. It's like action speaks louder than words or something like that as the conference slogan.
Looking at the rankings, teams that didn't play last week, Oklahoma State didn't play. They moved up 2 spots despite not playing to number 14. Cal didn't play. They also moved up 3 spots to number 20. Temple, as we said, they jump into the rankings at 22. Duke didn't play, moves up 2 spots. Good for you,
Devils.
Devils. Ole Miss hanging on the rankings after the loss to Memphis at 24. And Pitt jumps in the rankings at 25. But that's the week 7 in the college footballs. Ready to talk some National Football League? Move on to the NFL and a confusing week 16.
Do you have any idea what's going on in this league at this point? Here's what I know right now about the NFL. The Patriots are really good.
The Patriots are good. The Bengals are good. The Packers are good.
I'm going to, okay, when we get to them, I'm going to debate that point. I don't think they are.
And the Panthers are good.
Well, they got a nice win.
Panthers are good. But in terms of everybody else, the teams that are in the middle, there's a whole lot of middle to be sorted out right now.
Right.
And the bad teams kind of, sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not. Like, I don't really know. And the problem was, especially last week, and I think a little bit more this week, you're having a lot of the bad teams playing each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, who will move from 1-4 to 2-5? Like, great. I don't really give a damn.
Maybe that's what it is. Just the bye weeks and the schedule are just lining up weird where you're just looking at it and going, this is just a mess.
Yeah, but even some of the good teams are playing down to competition. Like, we'll talk about the Broncos, and I don't know what the hell's going on with them. And,
well, see, that's the thing, though. That's what as we go through these games, there's some teams that I wonder, are they a bad team that's actually pretty good or a good team that's pretty bad? And that Broncos-Browns game is one of those games, and we'll get to it. But
Bears-Lions was a weird one, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll start on Thursday where the weirdness kind of kicked off. As the Falcons get their first loss of the season, a 31-21 loss in New Orleans. I didn't get to see any of this game. I was covering a high school football game. I just know when I got the notification on my phone, I was like, really? To the Saints? Falcons?
It was
Freeman?
It was just a strange game. Just a weird game. I don't really know how else to describe it.
Drew Brees, 30-39, 312. Like, I look at all the numbers, and it's like the Saints didn't play out of their minds or anything.
No, they didn't. It was just a strange game, and it just started a week of strangeness in the NFL. I think that with the Falcons, I wouldn't get too concerned about it because we all knew they weren't going to go undefeated. Mm-hmm. And the Saints used to be tough at home. Then they weren't for a while, and then all of a sudden they kind of were again. So I don't know what to make of this game. I think the Falcons are better. I don't think the Saints suddenly found some magic combination where they're going to turn things around. It was just one of those games where you go, okay, it's just the NFL, and that's the way things work sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. But it is what it is, and the Saints move to 2-4, and the Falcons get their first loss. They fall from the ranks of the unbeatens. Move over to Sunday, and we'll start with the early games. And the JETSs get their 4th win of the season.
Look at them go.
Didn't they only have 4 wins all last year?
I think that sounds about right, yeah. I want to say 4 or 3 maybe even. No, I think they were 4-12 last year, yeah.
Let me pull it up real fast. The Jets, they had 4 wins all last season, so they matched their win total with a 34-20 win over Washington. That defense is looking good, and the offense is more than competent right now for the JTSs.
They are doing exactly what we said they needed to do at the beginning of the season. Ryan Fitzmagic just has to go out there and not kill them. They've got enough defense. They can win some football games. And you know what I thought of after this game? This is the team. This is Buffalo and Miami. This is the team that we thought those two were going to be.
Yeah, especially Buffalo, because the defense is setting the tone for the Jets. And then they're getting competent quarterback play, nice running game. Brandon Marshall is not being, a jackass.
Right.
He's catching 111 yards, 7 receptions, and a touchdown.
Yeah, but to answer the question, which would it be, Buffalo or Miami for that wild card spot? Well, the answer is the Jets.
Jets. Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking solid. They're going to be a tough out for anybody. I don't think that they're a serious contender, but they keep doing this, and you can't look past them on your schedule.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do next week when they go to Foxborough.
Ooh.
Take on the Pats. See if that defense is really all it's cracked up to be.
Well, many a nice, fun narrative has been ruined in Foxborough.
Yeah, I know from experience.
Right.
Move on down the list. Another just weird, surprising result. The Arizona Cardinals go on the road to the Pittsburgh Steelers and get knocked off by Landry Jones?
Landry Jones
and the Steelers with a 25-13 win. The Steelers improved to 4-2, improbably without Roethlisberger, and the Cardinals fall to 4-2, improbably against Landry Jones.
You look at this game and the way these two teams have played to start the season, you think the Cardinals should have no trouble with this game, right?
Yeah.
Steelers are on, at the time of the game, their second-string quarterback. The Cardinals have been putting up points like nobody's business. Their defense has played really well, and you think this should be an easy win. And you would have thought that the way these two teams, again, another game where you just go, I don't get this crazy league. And here's my question, too, with the quarterbacks and the Steelers. Is Landry Jones the better fit for that offense than Michael Vick at this point?
Oh, yeah. I think so. I think Vick is serviceable to an extent, of course, but it's kind of like Allen Iverson coming off the bench at the end of his career in the NBA. Iverson isn't a guy that comes off the bench and plugs into a system.
No.
Vick isn't a guy that comes off the bench and plugs into a system. And especially with Vick, with the skills he showed over his career, he's not somebody that just slides into a pocket quarterback type offense. In the past, you market your offense around Michael Vick.
Right.
And then you let him kind of go crazy and do his thing.
And the Steelers are not set up that way. Yeah.
No, they're not set up that way, and Vic can't do that anymore.
No.
But, again, in a game where Carson Palmer throws for 421 yards, I mean, that's – in John Brown, 196 yards receiving. That's a game that the Cardinals win. If that game's in Arizona, that's a game that they probably win. But
when you've got
somehow they pull it out.
When you've got a receiver that goes for 199 and a quarterback that throws for 400, you've got to score more than 13 points.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yep. But,
hey, nice job by the Steelers. And you know what? Yes, the Bengals are still undefeated, but the Steelers now at 4-2. They've got the Bengals twice this year. This thing might not be over just yet.
Yeah, only 2 games behind the Bengals, so it's an option. It depends. I guess Roethlisberger is going to practice this week, so we'll see where he is come Sunday. I think the Bengals get the week off.
Who do the Steelers have this week? Or are they off?
The Steelers go to Kansas City.
Okay, that's a winnable game for them.
Yeah, but if Landry Jones is still in there, maybe it was just a rookie, rookie luck.
Yeah, that happens a lot too. You think, wow, this guy's not bad, and the next week he goes out and you go, okay, that's why he's a third-string quarterback.
Yeah, well, the Steelers have an opportunity to go out and get a half game on the Bengals, so they got to take care of it. But the team the Steelers are playing, the Chiefs, continue to tumble. A 16-10 loss at Minnesota. Your Irrational Confidence Vikings 3-2.
Just
and
about
the Chiefs,
where I thought they'd be. And my Chiefs, not at all, not a good team this year.
Oh, that's right. Your AFC Chiefs.
Yeah, it came down to them and the Jets. And like always, because my life is filled with choices like this, I picked the wrong horse, but that's okay.
Yeah, the Vikings doing well for themselves. 3-0 at home, so that's good. I mean, 3-2, above 500, hanging around.
Yeah.
Look for them later when the wild card races start to form, but they're doing just enough to stay relevant.
And just if anybody's interested, my number 1 game of the week on the best list. So if there's that.
Really?
Yes. Vikings. I tell you what, these Vikings uniforms, when they first debuted, I'm like, I don't think I like these. But they've really grown on me over the past couple of years. So now they're one of my favorites. I think they look really good.
What pants do the Chiefs wear?
The red ones.
Oh, well, okay.
The sunshine helped a lot in this one. I think if the Chiefs had gone all white, it would have been a killer game. And I like the red pants, but sometimes it's just, depending on who they play, it would be better in all white. But still a great-looking game.
You know what? I like Minnesota playing outside.
Oh, so do I. It's great.
After all those years of playing in the Dome,
yep.
Them playing outside these interim years, I'm almost kind of sad that they have to go into the church that Adrian Peterson built next year.
Yeah. Because, that's the thing that I really liked to look at this game was the sun was out. And you just don't see the Vikings with their home uniforms playing in the sunshine ever, really. And it looks fantastic, yeah.
So that was good. Move back to the AFC North, and the Bengals continue to roll along. 34-21 win over the Bills. Bills have been a disappointment, 3-3, 1-3 at home. But the Bengals, again, this is a game that the old Bengals probably go on the road. They're 5-0. They're feeling good, and they probably lose it.
Exactly.
But they didn't. They survived, and 34-21 win. The Bengals are 6-0.
I think they're legit. I do. I think but here's the thing that they've got to keep an eye on. They got to make sure. It's a very similar situation to the Jets. You've got to contain Andy Dalton, and I don't mean the other team. I mean the Bengals have to contain him and make sure that he plays in a way that's not going to hurt them, and they're going to be fine. And the Bills team, they're 3-3. They've been a disappointment. I don't think they're quite out of it just yet, but man, they have not shown anything after what was the first week of the season when they just came out and looked great. They have not shown much since then, and it's been a disappointment. They're not done yet, but it's getting close.
Yeah, again, as we talked about last week, the impressive wins that they had, not as impressive. The Colts aren't what we thought they were. The Dolphins are bad, and the Titans, they beat by a point.
Right, and just, again, on the best worst thing, this is my worst looking game of the week, so that's out of the way.
Why with the all blue?
I don't know.
Why with the all blue, Bills?
I don't know. Why would you ruin one of the best looks in football by doing that to it? I just don't get it.
It doesn't even make sense. I hate teams when they go all monochromatic and they have a white helmet. It doesn't look good. It never looks good. No, and that was a horrible looking game. I mean, the Bengals, they're bad. Their uniforms are all bad. But there are some choices that are better than others. And the black pants with the white was not one of the better choices. Just a horrible looking game. But the Bengals, completely legit, I think, up to this point. Mm-hmm. Sticking with the early games, one of the weirder games of the day, the Bears and Lions. Again, another one of those things where both teams are 1-4. Who the hell cares? But it was a weird one. Went into overtime. Bears Bears stormed back to tie the game late, and the Lions get a field goal in overtime to take this one 37-34.
Do you think if the Bears had even a semblance of a decent defense, they'd be a little bit better?
Be a little bit better, but I don't know how much a little bit gets them.
I think it gets them a couple more wins, I would think, because I don't know.
They're not like playoff contenders or anything like that.
No, but I think that would be headed in the right direction. But here's the thing with this game. This is what I thought about when I watched a little bit of it. Two teams that are pretty evenly matched. It turned out exactly like it should. Either one of them could have won this game. Wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
It was just one of those. They're both bad teams, and
both bad teams on the downswing with their current regimes.
Exactly.
So yeah, but the Lions they get their first win of the year. Congratulations, Lions. We're 1-5.
Yeah, don't have to worry about going 0-16 this year.
No. But another overtime game of the day. 3 overtime games the last week, 2 this week. Just weird, man. This league is nutty.
It is.
But the Broncos go into Cleveland. And on paper, you think the Broncos are 5-0, everything's fine. The Browns, they're fine, not that great. They hang tight with the Broncos, score all their points in the second half, go to overtime, and the Broncos pull it out in overtime against the Browns to stay undefeated 6-0, 26-23.
Peyton Manning had 3 interceptions in this game. I think that's a big part of why it was as tight as it was.
It was only 26-48 passing. The longer the season goes on, the more I'm kind of disappointed that Peyton decided to come back. He
hasn't looked anything like he should look. He's a guy that might have, like you said, he might have stuck around a year too long.
Like they're 6-0, but
it's a very tenuous 6-0. I remember. I don't remember what year this was. It was back in the 90s sometime. I think the Chargers started out like 7 or 8-0, and everybody's like, they're just not very good. And I thought, well, they're 7-0. How can you say that? They ended up finishing, I think, 8-8.
Yeah.
I don't think the Broncos are going to be that bad, but I don't put them at the same level as the Bengals or the Patriots at this point. I think they're a step down from that easily.
No, 19-13 win over the Ravens in week 1, no offensive touchdowns. They get a miracle win at the Chiefs on Thursday night the week after. Beat the Lions 24-12, but again, that was tight. They get a very late win against the Vikings, another late close win against the Raiders, and in overtime at the Browns. Like, they could have very easily lost just as many games as they've won so far.
Yeah.
I think the only one that you put aside is maybe the Lions game that they were okay in. But they could have lost the Ravens, could have lost the Chiefs, could have lost the Vikings, could have lost the Raiders, could have lost the Browns very easily.
Yeah, I think that they're what Bill Simmons likes to call a bad good team.
Good team.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think their defense is good. I just wish that at first I thought it was because they weren't letting Peyton Manning throw enough, and that was the problem. Mm-hmm. He threw plenty in this game, and that didn't seem to solve the problem.
So the Broncos are a bad good team. Are the Browns a bad good team or a good bad team?
No, I think the Browns they're frisky. They're not quite a good bad team just yet. They're close, but they're just frisky at this point. But I think the Broncos are a bad good or a good bad good team, however it works.
Bad good team.
Right, exactly.
Move down to when the rest of the AFC South plays each other, it's not the Colts, it's really Special football. As the Texans get a 31-20 win over the Jaguars. Who the hell cares?
Well,
Blake Bortles threw the ball 53 times.
DeAndre Hopkins had a nice game for the Texans, and that's about.
Blake Bortles threw the ball 53 goddamn times.
Jeez.
What the hell, Jaguars? Oh my God. The Colts should just be so thankful that the rest of this division is garbage.
Yeah.
It's
as simple as that. There's no team in this division that's capable of providing a challenge for them. And let's be honest about the Colts aren't that great this year.
No, I know. We'll talk about them when we get to the night game, but yeah. Moving on, again, the AFC South with another loss on the record as the Dolphins, who again aren't very good, beat the Titans by 28 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much to say about this one really either. The Dolphins, was this their first game since the coaching change?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
they had a bye last week.
Yeah, so, they come out and they put up 38 points. I'm going to reserve judgment on this. Maybe the coaching change will help them, but I'm not. Do this against somebody other than the Titans, and I'll start taking it a little more seriously.
Yeah, the Dolphins get, it's not going to, you're not going to learn too much as they play the Texans next week. Hey, congratulations, AFC East. You get to beat the AFC South this year.
Yeah.
Enjoy all
Good
that.
for you.
Yeah. Now we'll go to some of the other surprising results on the day. In Seattle, the Panthers go in 13 points in the fourth quarter. Late Carolina rally led by Cam Newton. And the Panthers knock off the Seahawks 27-23. Panthers undefeated, 5-0 on top of the AFC South now with the Falcons loss. And the Seahawks are 2-4.
Can we finally – is this the death knell for the Seahawks, do you think? Is that it? Because they're tied with the 49ers right now.
They're tied with the 49ers, who pulled out a win against another awful team in the Ravens, 25-20. I think that's all you need to say about that game because who cares again?
Right.
But yeah, they're tied with the 49ers. Let me pull up the Seahawks schedule the rest of the way. They're at the 49ers next week, so they can break that tie. They're at the Cowboys, who are very beatable still. They still get the Cardinals twice. They still have 2 games with the 49ers next week and the week after. They're not out of it.
No, but here's the thing.
They're 2 games behind Arizona. And they still play Arizona twice, the 49ers twice, and they play the Ravens again and the Rams at home.
See, this is where the Cardinals, to go back to them for a second, they've lost 2 games they probably should have won. Mm-hmm. And they could be in absolute, complete, dominant control of this division right now. If they had just not played down to their competition the way they did. So they've got no one to blame but themselves because they could have this thing sewn up right now, but they don't.
No, definitely. But you can see the collapse of the Seahawks happening.
Yeah.
Cam Chancellor was fine, but they're all out of sorts in many different ways.
Well, you got to get a good idea of why Atlanta hired Dan Quinn as their head coach, because look at what the Falcons have done with him and look how the Seahawks have been without him at this point.
Yeah, that's true too. But again, I can't say the Seahawks are done yet because of who they have left on the schedule and the fact that Arizona has faltered in places where they could have really taken advantage. And I forgot to mention they get the Browns to do the Seahawks in Seattle.
But I just like the Jimmy Graham thing is just not worked out.
It's not worked out. And the thing I think that's the more important thing for them is not necessarily that they brought in Jimmy Graham. He's not doing anything. They traded away their center, Max Unger, to get Jimmy Graham. And their offensive line is still an issue.
Yeah.
It's that was for a team with the identity that they have, they need to have a strong offensive line, and it just hasn't had the same cohesion that it has in the past. And but again, all the credit to the Panthers for going and winning this game. They were down. The Seahawks were probably going to win this, and Cam Newton led a late surge. Yeah,
if there's a tougher place in the NFL to do a comeback win than Seattle, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an accomplishment. And the Panthers, the NFC South, is half of it at least, has turned it around really nicely this year.
Yeah, Panthers flying under the radar right now, but I think they'll take that and they'll just keep winning the games as they win them. So
sure. Good
job, Panthers. We already mentioned the 49ers with the win. Again, 2 1-4 teams playing.
Yeah.
Woo, who cares? Steve Smith, 137 receiving yards.
The guy, he's just ageless. I just don't get it. I almost picked him on my fantasy team this year, and I thought, no, he can't do this again.
Yeah, me too.
And here he is doing it again.
Yeah, but I think it's also a product of who the hell else is Joe Flacco supposed to throw to.
Yeah, that too. But this Ravens team, it's funny. I still subscribe to Sports Illustrated. I rarely read it anymore, so I didn't even know why I bothered. But I had the NFL preview. I'm like, I haven't even looked at this yet. They had the Ravens going to the Super Bowl and winning it this year.
Jokes.
Which cracks me up because, this is what you think at the beginning of the season, and you go, wow, were you wrong?
Yeah. But the Ravens are dead now, right?
Oh, absolutely,
they're done, dead, gone.
Absolutely, yeah. I still don't know how this team – I don't know how this team beat the Steelers. I still don't know how they pulled it off, but they did.
Yeah. The last game in the afternoon slate – your Green Bay Packers, Greg, they pull out a 27-20 win over the San Diego Chargers. They're 6-0. I think they're still pretty good. You have your doubts. Lay it out to me. I don't want to say they're a bad good team, but they're not. They're not. It's like as they move along here, they're starting to regress a little bit. Like usually a home game against the Chargers, they put 40 up and it's not even an issue. Yeah, and this was 503 yards
right
passing the ball.
This game was a deflected pass on fourth down away from going to overtime. I mean, the Chargers played. Now the Chargers, I think, are the NFL's version of multiple personality disorder. You just never know what you're going to get with these guys. But the Packers, I have some concerns. I don't know if it was that they overlooked these guys or what, but might have just been those stupid uniforms they were wearing. I don't know.
Why do they continue to use those throwbacks? Like, I understand. Like, if you're a team like the Packers, you don't need to do that.
Not really.
Especially ones that are, like, I know we're an old team, and these are really old uniforms. Great. I'm happy for you. Don't wear them ever again.
Exactly. I've never liked any of their The only one I liked was the one they wore in 2003, which was basically their uniform, except based on like the 1967 version of it with more stripes. That's the only throwback of theirs I've ever liked. The rest of them I think are terrible. But I think they're good. I don't think they're quite as good as we think they are. I think they've got some issues. I tell you this, James Jones has been a godsend because he's just catching touchdowns, and that's what he's kind of filled in nicely for Jordy Nelson. But the defense just concerns me. I mean, the Chargers just marched down the field on them towards the end of that game or Sunday. And I just worry if they can keep home field advantage throughout, they've got a shot. But if they have to go on the road in the playoffs, I don't see them going to the Super Bowl. And I know that that's really a nice problem to have if that's your biggest concern, but I don't think they're quite as good as we think they are.
To the Sunday Nighter, Pats Colts. Patriots win 34-27. Colts, they played tight. They played them tough. I'll give them credit for playing tough. But when you're in a game like that and you have an opportunity to make a play, dear God, do not run the fake punt that the Colts tried to run. When you have an opportunity to get a win that you probably don't deserve, probably shouldn't be in, and you run out that?
Yeah, I don't know what that was or
what the hell
purpose of that was.
And they even said that they didn't – the coach said afterwards, we didn't practice it enough during the week. Well, then here's a question. If you didn't practice it and you weren't confident in it, why in the fuck do you run it? Why does that seem like a good idea?
I don't know. And then I heard that they weren't even supposed to snap the ball.
No!
It was just an attempt to get the Patriots to go off sides.
And, the Patriots had to defend him quickly. So another question, why don't you take a time out? You see that it's not going to work. You see that nobody knows what the hell they're doing. You see that that you're not even lined up correctly. Even if the play worked, it wouldn't have been called back because they weren't on the line. Like, what was that?
The biggest problem with that play, and believe me, there were a lot of problems with that play, was that just shifted the entire momentum of the game.
They were down 6.
It completely shifted everything. 7. Yeah.
They had a shot to tie the game.
Yep.
There were 6 minutes left.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna go for it on fourth down, don't do that. You have Andrew freaking Luck.
Yep.
Give him a shot. I know he's been up and down this year, but pretty good in this game. 3 touchdowns, 312 yards.
Let
him do his thing.
That was just we talked about the dumb play that Mike Tomlin made last week with the going forward on fourth. This was dumber than that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was I don't know what to say. This team, I heard this again, and Dan Patrick show again. Do you think Chuck Pagano's days are numbered with the Colts as the coach? Because part of me says, okay, maybe, But the other part of me goes, they're not. It's not like it's his fault that they're not very good. I mean, he can only coach what he has, and they've got some problems. So I don't know.
I think somebody mentioned it in the thread on the boards. The thing that's kind of troubling to me is the best coaching job during the tenure of Chuck Pagano was the job that Bruce Arians did when Pagano had cancer.
Right.
And then you see what he's done in Arizona over the last 2 years, and you say, well, he's a pretty damn good coach.
Yeah, like maybe we went with the wrong horse kind of type deal.
Well, I mean, I don't think Arians was up for the Colts job. He came over with Pagano's staff.
Right, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want to blame him entirely because, let's be honest, the offensive line's not very good.
The offensive line's bad. The defense is still bad.
But at some point, Jim Irsay's got to blame somebody. And it's going to be Pagano. I don't know.
I think if you fire Pagano, you have to fire the GM too, because he's not doing a great job of trying to negotiate it, but this is still the GM's problem, I think.
Yeah.
Like Grigson has not been a good general manager. The problems that have been a problem for this team the last 3 years have never been addressed.
Exactly.
He doesn't address them, and he tries to mine the friggin' dregs of the Canadian Football League to try and find some diamond in the rough.
Well, here's the thing with the Canadian Football League. There's a reason those players play in the Canadian Football League, and it's not because everybody missed on them. And
he got one or two guys that came in on defense and played well. Fantastic. That's great. It's a nice story, and that's fun to see. But it's not,
you can't use it as a matter of practice, though. It's just one of those things. Yeah, it's going to happen on occasion, but you can't.
No, and again, like bringing in Andre Johnson when you lose Reggie Wayne, in theory, good move. But that money could have also been spent on the offensive line.
Well,
the receiving core was fine last year. You need somebody to protect your franchise investment.
We talked about it a few weeks back that the offensive line, I think we both agreed, is the most important part of a football team.
Mm-hmm.
But because without it, you can't do anything. And the Colts are proving that week after week after week. And if you've got a good offensive line, it makes everything else better, including your running game. And you don't need an Andre Johnson if you've got guys that can block.
Yeah.
An NFL caliber receiver can get open if the quarterback's got time. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think that this team should be, based on the quarterback they have, they should be better than they are at this point, and they're not.
And I've seen a lot of discussion now in different parts of the internet of people asking, well, is Andrew Luck overrated?
No.
Did we put him too highly, or he hasn't really done anything yet? Okay, you put anybody else behind the team that he's had, and it's not even close. The production, but the problem with the Colts is this is what they are. They're gonna win all their division games this year because the stupid division we play in. And they're going to win the division like they've done the last 2 years. They're probably going to win it the next 6 years. And then they're going to win. They might pull out a miracle wildcard game victory. And then they're going to meet the Patriots in the second round and get their asses handed to them again.
Yep.
It's just, this team isn't good enough. Like, yes, they played tight with the Patriots. But when the situation's flipped around and they're in Foxborough and it's been a full season to prepare, you're not going to beat the Patriots with this team as constructed.
No.
Or, with who's in charge constructing it. It's just not going to happen.
No, they've got problems. But going back, Andrew Luck is not overrated. He's going to be a great quarterback. But again, it goes back to the offensive line. If no one's blocking for him, I don't care who you are. Joe Montana's not going to be any good if you're not getting any blocking. Simple as that.
Like I had a discussion with another Colts fan yesterday, and I asked him a question. I said, if we still had Peyton Manning, would he be able to be any more successful with this team? Maybe a little bit.
Nah.
But not by a lot.
No.
Because, if nobody's blocking for him, he's going to be on the ground all the time.
Yep.
And Andrew Luck has the benefit of being able to move around a little bit, be a little bit more physical, and can fight through some of the hits that he takes on a consistent basis.
Yep.
But, I think this is the best the Colts are going to look all year, is being 7 points shy of the Patriots.
Yeah, and this Patriots team, jeez. They're just they're good again.
Just good.
They're the best team in the NFL right now.
They're the best team on the field. They're the best run team off the field. They're just
a
machine.
If you can take anything away from this Colts game, is the fact that the Patriots, you can get close, and a better team could probably beat them. But right now, I think they're easily the class of the league. And I think that it's after that, there's a pretty big drop off from the Patriots to everybody else. But we've thought that before too. But that's where I'm at with it.
I agree. Move over to Monday night, where two teams that trying to take advantage with the Cowboys out, and the Giants didn't look good at all. It wasn't a great game, but the Eagles pull out a 27-20 or 27-7 win over the Giants in Philly to move to 3-3. Giants fall to 3-3, and the Eagles for now are technically in first place in the NFC East.
I didn't get anything out of this game that makes me think the Eagles have solved anything.
No.
Sam Bradford still threw 3 interceptions in this game. Mm-hmm. And the Giants, this is the thing. The Giants looked like they were the team that was going to take things and run with it, with the Cowboys being out, and they come out and they just play horribly. Like, I mean, for the first drive, they look fantastic. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the game, forget it. But
how many weeks has Tony Romo been out now? 3, 4?
I think 4. Maybe. And
the Cowboys are only a game behind in the NFC East.
Exactly.
Yeah, good luck. If all these teams want to beat up each other and do what they're doing, just let Des Bryant come back. Let Tony Romo come back, and then watch them, catch up and pull by you as you continue to, slap each other in the face for a couple weeks.
But yeah, I mean, people, I guess Eagles fans maybe would like to walk away from this and go, see, our team's going to be fine. No, that's still not a good football team.
No.
And I think the Giants, again, kind of like the Falcons and the Saints, just one of those games we just go, I don't know what the hell happened here, but it wasn't supposed to be this. The Giants are better than the Eagles, and I don't know why they played the way they did, but the Eagles got one they probably shouldn't have gotten.
Yep. We're six weeks in, 5 games for some, 6 for others. Just want to take a quick look at where the standings sit right now. Patriots and Bengals are the buys in the AFC if the playoffs were to start today. Broncos, Colts lead the other 2 divisions. Broncos are 6-0, of course, behind the Bengals. Right now, your first round games would be Colts, Jets, and we already saw that game this year. And maybe the Colts could pull out a different result, but who knows?
Rematch of Super Bowl III.
Then you'd have Broncos, Steelers in the other game. Steelers 4-2, still pretty good.
Not out of it in that division.
No, they're. I think. Okay, let me look at it this way. These are the playoff teams right now: Patriots, Bengals, Broncos, Colts, Jets, Steelers. Of the teams that aren't currently in the playoffs in the AFC, you have the Bills at 3-3, the Raiders at 2-3, Dolphins 2-3, Browns 2-4, Chargers 2-4, Houston 2-4, and then Titans, Chiefs both with 1 win, and Jacksonville and Baltimore. Of those teams, I guess really of Buffalo, Oakland, Miami, Cleveland, San Diego, Houston maybe. Is there any of those teams that breaks into the playoff picture?
I don't think so.
I think the only possible one is if the Jets fall off the rest of the year and the Bills make it in, but
right.
I think those are your playoff teams right now.
I mean, I think we're 6 weeks in. We've already got a pretty good idea of who the playoff teams are going to be in the AFC, but then if history's any indication, that will come back to bite me down the road. But right now it sure looks that way because I have not seen anything out of those other teams that makes me think they're going to, if everybody plays the same way they've been playing right now, I think the field's already set.
Yeah.
That's the way I would put it. Barring injuries and all that.
Yeah. Buffalo's the only question mark, maybe.
Right.
But Oakland, they're on the way up. They're not close enough. Miami has a whole bunch of issues. Cleveland is interesting, but probably not interesting enough.
They don't have a quarterback. That's their biggest issue. I mean, yes, Luke, Zeppo, Josh, Frank, whatever his name is, McCown, has been serviceable, but you need a guy that's going to be a little bit better than he is, and they don't have it. And Johnny Manziel in trouble again. Mm-hmm. So I think that you got to cut your losses with Manziel at this point, but that's another conversation. That's basically a sports show topic. But yeah, if everybody plays the same, health stays the same and all that, I don't see anything changing in this playoff picture in the AFC.
In the NFC, you have the Packers on top, 6-0, Panthers 5-0. Then you'd have the Cardinals in the 3 seed, Eagles in the 4 seed as the current division leaders at this moment. Right now, you'd have Eagles, Falcons, and Cardinals, Vikings as your playoff teams. Sitting on the outside right now are the Giants, Bucks, Rams, Cowboys, Washington, New Orleans, San Francisco, Seattle, and Chicago all have 2 wins. I think Dallas is the oddball here because when they get Romo and Des Bryant back, you got to assume that they rush back up in the playoff picture, whether it's simply in a wild card or taking back the division.
Right.
Tampa Bay's 2-3.
Not a threat.
St. Louis is 2-3.
If crazier things have happened than a Rams team with this ability putting it together and making a run at a playoff spot, but I don't know.
Giants are 3-3, and Eagles 3-3.
Of this crew, of the teams on the outside looking in, I think you said it, the Seahawks.
Seahawks aren't dead. The Seahawks aren't dead.
I'd love for them to be dead, but I don't think they are.
No, I think San Francisco's not good enough. They'll fall off. New Orleans?
Nah.
This win doesn't spur them forward, you don't think?
No, not with that division, especially the way it is right now. Because if they keep playing the way they are, you're going to have the division winner and a wild card team there. Yeah, so you're basically playing for one wild card spot at this point.
Yeah. So I think the Seahawks aren't dead. I want to believe in the Rams, but I don't know. And then the Cowboys for sure. And the Giants are a question mark. They'll probably hang around in contention for a while. And it'll probably either be, I think for the final spot, the Vikings are in there right now. I don't know if they can hang on to it the rest of the year. So Vikings, Giants, Seahawks in play for that final spot. And then the Cowboys, I would have moving back up to take the division lead at some point.
Well, with the Vikings, they're about where I thought they'd be, but I thought they'd look better in getting there than they have at this point.
Yeah.
They've got a 3-2 record, but they haven't done anything I thought was terribly impressive. I thought they'd be better than this. They're still getting the wins, but they didn't improve as much as I thought they would.
Yeah, so things a little more fluid in the NFC. For Greg, I'm Zach. This has been basically a football show. Follow us on all of our platforms: Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, etc., etc. Any last words for the people, Greg?
Go Rockets.
Go Rockets. Go Colts. Who are we playing this week? I forgot. Saints. Yeah, beat the Saints.
Could be a great uniform matchup if the Saints don't botch it up.
We'll catch you next week. Enjoy the football.
Good snap. O'Neal, Mufti, football, and he can't get away with it. And Michigan State running down the left sideline. Needing a block in the Spartans are going to win the football. No! Touchdown, Michigan State. Are you kidding me? Michigan State wins the football game. Oh, my God. Stunned silence here at the Big House. Bad snap. Bobble. Scooped up. Here come the Spartans. Touchdown, MSU. Touchdown. It's over. The Spartans win again. The Spartans win again.
Not even the wizardry of Fred Belitnikoff, you bastard name there. Men like Eyeshide and Bueller. Bueller, you son of a bitch.